Confessions of a Thug, the secret killers who haunted British India. In the early 19th century, British administrator William Henry Sleeman led a major campaign to eradicate Thuggee, which he described as a secret cult of highway robbers who ritually strangled travelers. The term thug became part of British colonial law. The 1839 novel, a key text that popularized the idea, was Philip Meadows Taylor's 1839 novel, Confessions of a Thug. It was presented as the first-person confession of a fictional thug named Amir Ali. This novel, not a historical record, is often mistakenly cited as the film's source. Historical debate. Scholars debate the reality of Thuggee. Some suggest the British may have exaggerated or constructed the idea of a widespread, religiously motivated secret society to extend control over mobile populations and justify their rule. Others argue that banditry and strangulation were real problems, but the British framed them within a new, sensationalized narrative to serve their administrative goals. To the thug, killing was not a crime of passion, greed, or rage. It was ritualized labor, inherited like land or caste. A boy born into a thug family learned early that his destiny was not plow or prayer, but the rumāl, the sacred yellow scarf, knotted once for silence and twice for death. A thug's life unfolded on the highways of India. They traveled as pilgrims, merchants, soldiers, fakirs. Whatever identity the road demanded, they joined caravans slowly, days at a time, gaining trust with stories, shared meals, and shared danger. No one was killed hastily. Selection was deliberate. "We never struck without the sign," recounts Amir Ali in Taylor's novel, echoing real confessions Sleeman later recorded. When the leader gave the signal, the rumāl fell like fate itself. The victim never screamed. That was the point. Strangulation left no blood, no wounds. Only a corpse that looked asleep. The body was buried in a pre-chosen pit, often softened days earlier under the guise of campfires. Coins, weapons, clothes, everything was divided according to rank. Nothing was taken greedily. Greed invited suspicion, and suspicion invited death. Women and children were usually spared, not from mercy, but from logistics. Survivors brought questions, killing the British when the empire became prey. For decades, thugs killed Indians and Europeans alike. The British were not initially special targets, but they were useful ones. British officers traveled with cash wages, weapons, official seals and documents, predictable routes, and, fatally, overconfidence. Some thugs considered the killing of a European a religious triumph, a sign that Kali's reach extended even to rulers. Others feared it, knowing the consequences if patterns were noticed. British victims often vanished without trace. No bodies, no crime scenes, no witnesses. Administrators blamed bandits, disease, or desertion. In several cases, entire detachments disappeared on roads that showed no sign of struggle. The genius of the thug system was not brutality, it was statistical invisibility. The problem the empire couldn't solve. By the early 19th century, British rule had mapped rivers, taxed villages, and defeated armies, but could not explain thousands of disappearances. Enter William Henry Sleeman. Sleeman was not a heroic conqueror. He was a methodical civil servant with an obsessive mind. What separated him from predecessors was simple but radical. He listened to Indians. Rather than dismissing rumors as superstition, Sleeman treated them as data. He compiled route-based disappearance patterns, repeated place names associated with burials, identical methods described by unrelated witnesses, and most importantly, he used approvers. IV. Turning thugs against themselves. Sleeman's breakthrough was psychological, not military. Captured thugs were offered life imprisonment instead of execution, protection for their families, the chance to confess fully. What followed shocked even the British administration. Confessions were astonishingly precise. Dates, locations, names, exact body counts, some exceeded 200 murders. Burial sites remembered decades later. These men showed no remorse, only pride in efficiency, and obedience to tradition. "Why should I repent?" one confessed. "I did what my father did, and his father before him." Sleeman cross-verified everything. When a confession named a site, excavations followed. Bodies emerged, still bound with cloth, still arranged in ritual posture. The myth collapsed. Thuggee was no longer rumor. It was documented infrastructure of murder. The end of the Thuggee world. Between 1830 and 1840, thousands were arrested, hundreds executed, many more imprisoned for life. Entire hereditary networks dismantled. Children of thugs were removed from families and placed in reform settlements to break the lineage. Sleeman did not destroy Thuggee with battles, but with records, maps, and testimony. Ironically, the same qualities that made Thuggee successful, discipline, secrecy, Consistency made it vulnerable once exposed. Confessions of a Thug, fiction as historical truth. Philip Meadows Taylor's Confessions of a Thug fictionalized one man's life, but it was rooted in Sleeman's real archives. The novel shocked Victorian readers because it did not portray savagery, it portrayed normalcy. The thug was not a monster. He was a husband, a father, a believer. That was the real horror. Legacy and controversy. Modern historians debate whether British accounts exaggerated numbers to justify colonial control, whether Thuggee was partially constructed through imperial fear, whether suppression was law enforcement or cultural annihilation. But even critics accept this much. Organized, ritualized highway murder existed, and Sleeman ended it. This story is by Nomad Studios.